Here's something most men have never been told, and honestly, it's not your fault. For years, maybe even decades, you've been approaching intimacy in a way that feels natural to you but doesn't actually work the way you think it does for her. And the reason is simple. Nobody sat you down and explained how her body actually responds during those private moments. Most guys grow up believing that intensity equals passion, that faster is better, that what you see portrayed in the media is somehow an instruction manual. But here's the honest truth, and I say this with zero judgment. That approach is almost always the reason she's not fully enjoying the experience, and she may never tell you that directly. But what if I told you there are 5 specific adjustments, backed by biology and real clinical experience, that could completely transform how she responds to you? What if the difference between her just going through the motions and her genuinely craving closeness with you came down to understanding a few things about how her body actually works? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. I've spent the last 5 years working closely with men on issues related to health, confidence, and intimate wellness. And in that time, I've seen the same patterns over and over again. Good men, caring men who genuinely want to please their partners, but have never been given the right information to do it. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 techniques that most men never learn. We're going to cover why rushing into intensity actually works against you biologically. I'll show you the one approach that creates an almost magnetic pull of desire in her body. We'll talk about why rhythm matters more than you think. Then I'll reveal the technique that 99% of men completely overlook, even though it's the single biggest factor in whether she reaches the peak of her pleasure. And finally, we'll talk about the mindset shift that separates an average experience from one she'll be thinking about for days. If you're a man who cares about being a better partner, about building real connections, about understanding what actually works instead of guessing, then stay with me. This could change everything. And before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button right now. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what's coming next in this series. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, jumping straight into full intensity. This is the single most common mistake I see, and it comes from a place of good intentions. You're excited, you want to show passion, so you go all in from the very first moment. But here's what's actually happening inside her body that makes this a problem. When a woman becomes aroused, her body goes through a series of physical changes that take time. Blood flow increases to her intimate areas. The vaginal canal naturally lengthens and expands to accommodate deeper connection comfortably. Natural moisture increases. Muscles that were tense begin to soften and relax. This is a gradual biological process. It doesn't happen the second things begin. It unfolds over minutes. And when you skip past that process by starting with maximum intensity right away, you're essentially asking her body to do something it isn't physically ready for yet. The result? Discomfort, sometimes even pain. And here's the part that breaks my heart as a doctor. She might never tell you. She might assume that's just how it's supposed to feel. She might not want to hurt your feelings, so she stays quiet, and you never know. Starting with a slower, more gradual approach isn't timid, it's intelligent. It gives her body the time it needs to fully respond so that when intensity does build naturally, it feels incredible for her instead of uncomfortable. Think of it like warming up before exercise. You wouldn't sprint the first 100 meters of a marathon. You build into it. Intimacy follows exactly the same principle. Technique number 2, the art of anticipation. Now here's where things get really interesting, and this is something that will genuinely surprise most men. One of the most powerful things you can do during intimacy isn't about doing more. It's about strategically doing less at the right moments. Let me explain the biology behind this. When her body is experiencing consistent pleasure, her nerve endings gradually adapt to that level of stimulation. The sensation plateaus, but when you temporarily pull back, when you slow things down deliberately after building intensity, you create a contrast that her nervous system responds to powerfully. You're activating desire at a deeper level. Her body starts craving what you just took away. And when you bring that intensity back, the pleasure hits with significantly more force than if you'd never paused at all. In practice, this means finding those moments when the rhythm is building beautifully and she's clearly engaged, then intentionally easing back. Slow everything down. Let the anticipation build. Watch how her body responds. She'll pull toward you. She might even tell you exactly what she wants. That's when you know this technique is working perfectly. One important note though, do not use this approach when she's clearly approaching the peak of her pleasure. If she's right on the edge of that moment, pulling back will create genuine frustration, not anticipation. This technique works best in the earlier and middle stages, when you're building towards something, not when she's almost there. Technique number 3, varying your rhythm naturally. Here's something most men never think about. If you maintain the exact same pace and pattern throughout the entire experience, her body will actually become less responsive to it over time. This is basic neuroscience. Our nerve endings adapt to consistent, repetitive stimulation. The sensation dulls. What felt amazing 3 minutes ago now barely registers. The solution is natural variation, shifting your tempo based on the moment, going slower when you're face to face and connecting emotionally, building pace when the energy shifts, easing back when it makes sense. You don't need a formula for this. You don't need to overthink it. The point is simply to avoid falling into one unchanging pattern and instead let the experience breathe and evolve naturally. When you do this, her body stays responsive and engaged throughout, and both of you enjoy the experience at a much deeper level. Quick pause before we get to technique number 4. What's coming next is the one thing almost every man misses, and it's arguably the most important technique on this entire list, so stay with me. Technique number 4, the movement that changes everything. This is the technique that 99% of men don't know about, and it's one of the most significant factors in whether she actually reaches the peak of her pleasure during intimacy. Most men focus entirely on one type of motion, and while that does stimulate internal nerve endings, it completely misses the most sensitive area of female anatomy. Without getting too clinical, the external anatomy at the front of her intimate area has an incredibly dense concentration of nerve endings, far more than anywhere else. And for the vast majority of women, stimulation of this area is essential for reaching full satisfaction. So how do you incorporate this? Instead of relying solely on back and forth movement, try pressing your body firmly against hers and using a grinding circular motion while staying deep. This creates contact and pressure against that highly sensitive external area. Positions where you're facing each other tend to make this much easier. And here's a bonus that most men don't realize. This particular technique is actually less stimulating for you, which means it gives you a natural opportunity to maintain your own control while dramatically increasing her pleasure. It's genuinely a strategy that benefits both of you at the same time. Technique number 5, being fully present. The 5th principle isn't a physical technique at all, it's a mindset. And it might be the most important thing I share with you today. Too many men spend intimate moments trapped inside their own heads, worrying about performance, second-guessing every move, running mental checklists. And because their attention is turned inward, they miss the most valuable information available to them, how she's actually responding in real time. Watch her body, listen to her breathing, notice the subtle shifts. When she moves toward you, that's telling you something. When her breathing changes, that's information. When muscle tension builds, when vocalizations shift, all of it is communication. Being present and attentive doesn't require any special skill. It simply requires you to get out of your own head and pay attention to what's happening between the two of you in that moment. And here's the truth that ties everything together. Women are significantly more likely to experience full pleasure and deep satisfaction when they feel emotionally connected to the man they're with. Intimacy for her isn't purely physical. The emotional component is enormous. That means how you communicate, how present you are, how you make her feel valued and seen. All of that directly impacts the physical experience. Connection isn't separate from technique. Connection is the foundation that makes every technique work better. Now, if this gave you even one moment of clarity, if it helped you understand something you didn't before, I want you to do 2 things for me. First, subscribe to this channel. I cover everything from wellness optimization to intimate health to confidence building, all from a doctor's perspective with real clinical experience helping men just like you. Second, leave a comment below. Tell me which of these 5 techniques surprised you the most, or which one are you going to focus on first? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to hear from you. And here's what I need you to carry with you after this video ends. Age does not mean the end of passion. It does not mean the end of connection. It does not mean you have to settle for less than what you deserve. Small adjustments in how you approach intimacy can restore confidence, deepen your bond with your partner, and bring back a level of closeness you might have thought was behind you. You deserve to feel desired. You deserve to feel capable. And most importantly, you deserve intimacy that is deeply fulfilling for both you and the person you care about. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. I'll see you in the next one.